Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the big show. We are here in Wrocław for EUCF, the European Ultimate Championship Finals. The long club season that began way back in the spring is finally coming to a close. And boy, do we have a treat for you first up. Open division action from Pool C. And boy, this is a super interesting pool. Alongside the reigning European champions Ranelagh, we have the two teams we see here right now. Tchac from the west coast of France, taking on the hometown heroes, Panthers, from right here in Wrocław. It's Benji Rees alongside Lorcan Murray for a game that, I'll be honest, I couldn't really think of a better way to kick off the weekend.
It's going to be a fantastic weekend and hopefully, like you're saying, Benji, a great way to start it off. Pool C, possibly the most exciting pool that we have in the open division. The two teams here making up 2/3 of it, obviously, like you said, Panthers, Wrocław and Tchac taking each other on. But Ranelagh, the reigning European champions, the third team that make up the rest of the pool. You got to imagine the Dubliners are watching this game with great intent in the run-up to this tournament, perhaps more so than in previous years. Teams at this here at the EUCF fancy that they could take on the reigning champions, maybe knock them off. Ranelagh haven't had as dominant a season this year as perhaps they would have hoped. So it is all to play for and all about to kick off right in front of us. Tchac will be starting on offense, playing in the white on the left-hand side of your screen, Benji.
And the first pull is up and EUCF 2023 is underway. And Tchac beginning relatively solidly, you have to say, you know, solid catch at the pool, getting into the system, looking like a 3-4 horizontal set downfield, trying to give those cutters some lanes to clear through. Brazo doesn't want to squeeze the up line, takes the sensible swing central to Benvinien. Now the bearded figure of Mathieu Bosset, what a handy player to have back into the system, and Benvinien is going to put it deep towards the back of the end zone where it is brought down for the score, and that is a clean hold to begin things for the French.
Clean and nice in the white jerseys, coming out strong. Tchac just working down the field. You've got to get that first point in. Those jitters, no factor at all for the Frenchmen here on the Friday morning, taking their time working it down the pitch. You could see just executing, so important to get the small things right and build upon them. And we saw them practicing those shots to the end zone in their warm-up drills. Nice leading pass. Well taken down for the score and the 1-0 lead. Interested, Benji, to see how the hometown team are able to square up against Tchac, a really established international side as a club. As you mentioned in our preview show, they made the quarterfinals of a World Championships.
Yeah, and you don't do that by accident.
So it'll be interesting to see how the Panthers can respond. But they've got some talent. You can see the captain out on the pitch already, ready to lead his squad forward. It's Filip Dobranowski.
Yeah, one of the
91.
Yeah, one of the two brothers, along with his sibling Łukasz, as the ball skims off the turf after landing inbounds, and Panthers now have the disc for the first time, and here is the lefty, the aforementioned Filip Dobranowski. Van Troba taking the swing all the way across the field to the tall figure of Zatoń. Backhand fake there from Wojciech. Again, really trying to stretch things laterally. That's a good shot cross field. I don't know if he's going to be able to chase it down in bounds. Excellent sliding snag there made by Mateusz Kosmowski. And Kosmowski is just going to take a little bit of negative yardage there, give themselves a bit more space to work with. It opens up the angle for the around blade, and the around blade scores as Filip Dobranowski finds Michał Rudy, and that is a clean hold on the board. And we are tied at 1 apiece. Certainly both sides, I think, seem to be setting into an offensive rhythm early on.
You could see the form that they were going for. Panthers starting off with a side stack, trying to create as much space through their strategy initially, which I really like, because obviously you're going to have to start creating space for each other with movement as you start to feel your way through this game. But initially, just to help you take those first few, sometimes uncertain steps here at the EUCF level, it's great to just come out with a nice, how do we give ourselves a huge amount of space, one cutter isolated, got things going a little bit. Once the flow started to kick in, the movement just picked up. They worked themselves down the field, and another really clean, efficient-looking hold.
A couple of maybe slightly more stretching grabs, but all relatively comfortable enough in the end. It's putting faith in your receivers.
I do think at this level, those are about as comfortable as grabs are going to get, especially when you're taking on a team like Tchac.
Yeah, they're not really going to let you just kind of calmly flow your way down the pitch. Yeah, going to try and see if he can get the edge to come back in bounds. Given the way everyone's holding up, I'm not quite sure that they managed it. There'll be a discussion as to whether they take it from the brick mark, as you're allowed to do when the ball lands out of bounds, or whether they take it from where it went out of the field.
I think Bonvenant signaled for the brick, so he's going to march that into the middle. An interesting decision. Personally, I'm of the mindset that it would be better to take that on the sideline way up the field, but Tchac got a lot of faith in their cutters.
I think they value having the disc in that horizontal space rather than the vertical space downfield. They just want to make sure they've got both sides to attack, as Quentin Manus is going to try and squeeze one. I think this might get a hand in there, and it is a hand in there that slaps it away. Bartolome Ziwa.
Ziwa, really nicely done. Slight overthrow, but he was on the hip of his man the entire way, and as soon as, it's why you got to stay as close as possible, take advantage of those opportunities when they come. No chance for the chase down, and now a chance for the break for the hometown team.
The first turnover of the game goes Panthers' way. Looking to get the hammer to access that soft spot in the centre of the field, and the quick dish off there. That one was just a little bit offline, and despite the hand there from Sosno, he couldn't bring it in. Great opportunity to convert at the second opportunity. They get the one-on-one in the end zone, and they convert it as well. Vincent Abita finding his target, and it's 2-1 to Tchac.
Always want to set up those isolation cuts following the quick turnover. I like that the Panthers came out with a hammer immediately. They know where the space is. Tchac are obviously trying to clamp down, use their experience. They have another look. Those unfortunate mistakes are going to happen. Abita was so quick to the disc, and almost threw that one into the ground. His blush is spared momentarily, so Tchac get the hold.
So 2-1, Tchac still on serve early in this game. That blade, I think in the end, was a really awkward one to field, and did the sensible thing for Tchac and just let it bounce first. Dished back into the hands of Dobronovsky. There's a real pace about the Panthers offense when they want it. Back in Dobronovsky's hands. Kosmowski now clears out from the far side. The disc into a central position. Did they have the dish off back to Dobronovsky? They do. Happy to run the show and go every other as required. Kravchik. Back to Dobronovsky. Lovely inside break there to Kosmowski, being marked by Axel Roger. The swing goes back to Dobronovsky, really quarterbacking the offense. Again, a lovely inside backhand. Can they find the little way through? Some creativity from Kosmowski, and it hits the target, and Panthers tied up at 2s.
See, the Panthers' strategy seemed to be Dobronovsky's going to take every second throw, not involved with the final score, but coming out of a pretty basic vertical stack, and then just setting up isolation cutters. It's not the best, it seemed, for setting up any deep shots. They always seem to be struggling to get the separation from the Tchac players, perhaps not committing enough to their fakes, but in the end they're able to recycle it around comfortably. A couple of really impressive break throws, and then that final shot finished off by Tiemann for the score. So the Panthers, they've come out here definitely with a structure, Benji, definitely with an attack plan, and right now their D-line's the only one who's gotten a turn. They're looking every bit equal to Tchac.
Yeah, when this Panthers team is clicking, they sometimes seem a bit unstoppable, but they're not always on form. They can be a little bit streaky. If you look back at their performance at the Spring Invite in Padova, way back at the start of the season, they won all 3 games on the Saturday and then lost all 3 games on the Sunday. They can be that kind of team, but you don't get European wins without having that quality. And they were champions of the EUCR East region as well. Here's Monus. Delal into the centre for Benvenien. Benvenien, a little blade a sliding grab from the beloved Bosser. Now they're trying to find an opportunity to squeeze it down the sideline. There's the deep shot, trying to squeeze it in, and they do manage to squeeze it down that sideline. Vincent Ibita already had an assist, and now he can add a goal to his tally as well. Still just the 1 turnover from either side so far.
Looking very professional. It's a lot of short field play, quick passes, and then Tchac not afraid to set up these nice leading shots to the end zone, expanding it after generating that space through their movement in the underfields. Ibita showing that he's going to be a big player for Tchac throughout this tournament. And right now it just feels to me like they're kind of feeling each other out. The opening rounds perhaps of a fight, you're just testing the opponent's range, starting to look for weaknesses, probing where you can. I feel like the 2 turnovers that have come out so far are more, one was a bit of a handler error, slight overthrow, one was a bit of a receiver error, just a drop, and they both come from the same school, where it's just not fully focused, not fully locked in, but brief blips in what has otherwise been a tentative but rather assured beginning to the game.
So this pool, again, going to have the opportunity to be fielded from elsewhere.
Panthers sticking with their vertical stack for now. We'll see if they continue to isolate cutters one at a time into the open side. Starting on the sideline is going to be tough. I would personally look immediately to the dump, give all 10 seconds to getting that disc into the middle of the pitch.
Well, instead they're going to try and keep things moving quickly. Or there's the inside shot to the end zone. They cleared the space beautifully for Kozmowski, and Van Trobe fits it in there. And we are back level once more at 3s. Neither side really giving an inch here.
Absolutely spectacular stuff from the Panthers. That's how you start a play off from the sideline. The cut was perfectly timed, so he'd be hitting open space directly in front of the handler, and then able to be picked up and quickly recycled. As soon as that was caught in the middle of the pitch, it was dumped off again. Suzderna was able to then keep it going across, and it's a lovely scooping inside flick break. See here, that was the opening pass straight off the sideline. See how quickly they just move it all the way along to the open side. Pulls the mark out of position. That is not an easy throw. It just looked comfortable.
One of the advantages of getting the players downfield quite central is that it means that you create that huge lane to work with, and rather than having to put some outrageous edge on the throw, you do create that nice lane so the throw can come out a lot flatter and easier to execute.
So really great spacing so far being shown by both teams. Tchac using it a lot more to attack the backfield, whereas the Panthers seem to be working the sidelines.
Just in a central position for the French. The first pass goes towards Guillaume. Swung all the way across back to Bosser. Oh, little slip from the defender. Delal had the opportunity to put it, but he didn't quite like what he saw downfield. So they will continue the handler-led play. Love that one into the middle. Brazil with a big fake down the sideline. Benvenien back to Bosser, a little bit of a floater. Again, it's in the air, and there was a slap of a hand in there, but Guillaume's going to call the foul under contact from Jiwa.
I think the discussion there is Jiwa followed through after getting the block. It looked to me like he got the disc first. What was grabbing a little bit of Gilao on the other side. Make up your own mind for the people at home. Panthers looking for their second block. And again, just a slight overthrow, it seemed, to create that opportunity. But the Panthers doing a fantastic job of sticking to the hips of the Tchac players up and down the pitch, so that when those opportunities arise, they're there to take advantage of them.
Shout out to those of you who apparently are taking the opportunity to sneak a watch from your academic facilities. I love it. It's a valid, exceptionally valid use of your time. They're going to say that the call is retracted, so the turnover stands. The second block of the game for Jiwa for the Panthers. And now they're looking to see if they can find the game's first break. Floaty over the top, and they just suck it, I think. The receiver into going up a little bit early for it. Tchac again with a second life. They've got the opportunity for the hammer right the way across the end zone, or they went with a flatter throw, and it just about evades Michał Dul as they work it in for the score to go back in front 4-3.
You can see the difficulties that the Panthers offense has once they get that turnover. They don't have as assured a thrower as Dobrowski at the base to take everything on. Also, interestingly enough, they seem to go with a bit more of a horizontal sack. Like you say, that's a great flat throw all the way across. A little bit of redemption from Bossel to get the grab and keep the lead for Tchac. But I just think Panthers might need to adjust their D-line offense or their D-line structure a little bit more as we go through this game. We've seen them get 2 turns already, but then both times struggle to get any significant yardage or flow going downfield, resorting to those hammers. And I think a part of it is the fact that they were going with the flat horizontal structure, which allows for more creativity, but it's also a little bit more difficult. Normally you see D-lines focus more on a vertical for its simplicity, and offenses, O-lines, go with horizontal. So an interesting deviation by the Panthers.
At this level, you need to start converting on those break chances, because if you play opponents like Tchac and you don't take advantage of the opportunities they give you, then how often do you see a team just continually just can't find a way to punch in a break, and then the other team gets one opportunity and converts, then all of a sudden you're behind the 8 ball.
Especially with Tchac starting on offense as well. So if Panthers can get that break and hold it into half, they get the free one coming out in the second half.
Dobrowski with a little bit of inside-out shape on it. That, my friends, is a throw and a half to Mateusz Kozmowski. Great cut, but it's all about the voluptuous inside shot there from Filip Dobrowski. That is beautiful.
Dobrowski and Komelski are absolutely massive for the Panthers. We have another look. The backhand fake moves the defender out of his way and then launches it. Lovely curve and sit, so you can follow it the whole way. That's a receiver's dream. There was potential perhaps for a slight battle, but Matthews is just so fast on the other end. You can see the connection those two players have, but this is exactly what I was talking about. I think the Panthers can definitely get a turn off the Tchac offense again. We've seen them do it twice so far, but without leaders like that on the D-line, I don't know what they're going to be able to do with the disc in hand.
Yeah, there's a reason why. You might remember back in 2015, 2017, excuse me, the World Games was held here in Wrocław on this very pitch, and Filip Dobrowski was huge for the Poles that week. Qualified as the host team, and it kind of, I think, helped create a real platform for the scene here in Poland. That is a pool that's going to pin Tchac at the back of their own end zone. They're able to work out of it, but they are still in the shadow of that end zone line. Bosser finds a centering pass, and Guillou to Brazo. Just look, they're trying to clog those lanes a little bit downfield. The bid comes in but doesn't get there. And there's a pick, I think, in the center of the pitch.
Huge bid by Sosna trying to put that pressure on Delal. Really athletic team, these Panthers.
And now that is true and a half. There's another pick, so that is going to go back. For those kind of less familiar with the game, do you just want to quickly explain what a pick is, Lorcan?
Yes, so unlike in a sport like basketball, in Ultimate Frisbee. When somebody who you are not marking gets in your way, that's known as a pick. They impeded your ability to move, and you can cause the play to stop and revert back to before the pick.
You can tell that there is pressure being created here by the Poles, and they are making the French not necessarily have things as easy as they would like. As there's the put coming up from Delal, it's going to float, and I think Monu's just went up a tad early, and it allowed Kamil Oshetsky to get there and get the tip and mack it away and give the Poles another break shot.
I thought that was a fantastically set up deep shot. You get the dump, you just tear down a far sideline. The disc just floated a little bit too long. Nerves perhaps got to the occasion. Oshetsky definitely got there. And again, the Panthers, this is their third turn they've generated in this game. But can they actually do anything with the disc? They're putting a lot of pressure on Sasson to pick it up every time. We've seen 2 hammers out of him so far in his attempts to get something going. One worked, one didn't. They have reverted to a side stack though, trying to work that isolation downfield.
You give them space, give themselves huge clear spaces to work with. Inside, through to Oshetsky, having got the block. What can he find a way to do on offense? He's also flipped his hat round. Obviously forward his offense and backwards his defense. Nice gainer there to Oshetsky. Cheeky little dish off and the travel called.
I love that setup. Sasson was getting into a power position, ready to absolutely boost one deep. But Gagne was making the run. This is much better by Panthers.
Chaldurna. There's a deep shot that they're trying to shed up, blading across the far side of the field. It's a bit of a stretch. Oh, we managed to get there and then couldn't bring it in. Agonizing from Kacper Krasuski.
That's a tough one.
It is, yeah, certainly a difficult play. A play that he will probably feel that having got there, he probably should have made, but as it is, it's back to Tchac, and they only just about got away with that one. Had Chaldurna picked that up a split second earlier, you feel like he would have got a hand in there, but as it is, still with Tchac. Resetting back to Delal with that visor. Through the inside lane, no! To be denied! Brilliant layout block from Kacper Podgaini. Sosna now. Surely this is the break chance that the Panthers need. They're in the red zone here, but not looking at a huge amount of movement, and on the high stall, they're choosing to take the time out because they know how important this break is here.
Let's just talk about that block for a little bit while they discuss their tactics. We can get into it. I just need to get in the vapors here in the early sunshine on a Friday morning. Incredible defensive effort, and once again just showing how the Panthers are staying on the hip of the Tchac players every single step of the way.
It's just they set it up nicely. When you get those late shots through the inside lane all the way across the field, it does allow the defenders the chance to nip in front and get the late up block, and they did that emphatically there, Lorcan.
Casper, perhaps the unfriendly ghost, haunting Tchac right now. Yeah, but something that we saw from the Panthers on the previous possession, sans one unfortunate misconnection in the end zone at the end of it. They are growing into this game. They start to feel a little bit more confident. They were able to get those isolation cuts downfield through a side stack, and I think they have to stick to that. Try and set up those vert stacks, isolate one cutter. It's what your O-line is doing so effectively.
I think I really want to see what they have cooking coming off this timeout as we get a look at the teams breaking their huddles from the Eurodisc Best Perspective drone, because it feels like a high stall, so you've got to get the disc out quickly. Do you have a set play getting it to the end zone, or is it more just we'll reset it as quickly as we can and go from there?
I feel like with Marcin Sosna on the disc, you've got at least a 40% chance that he's going to throw a hammer. If Tchac are able to at least shut down the initial look, get that stall up to 6-7, I feel like Sosna's going to throw a hammer.
I feel like the stall's at about 6-7 already.
Well, then throw that hammer immediately.
I think probably the look here will be a swing to Chaldurna, but they are trying to set something up at the front, and the disc comes off the front. Podgaini makes the reset cut. And that's good sticky dump coverage there from Delal, but he's unsighted for a brief second, and that allows the throw to go to Sosna. credit Tchac's O-line because they have played very tough, tight defense to prevent the Poles from working this in, but now they've got a glorious opportunity just a couple of yards out. Oh, I thought he was going to go for the reset, but instead takes it the second opportunity a bit behind Sosna, but Sosna makes it work, and now here's Oshetsky. The Wrocław outfit happy to go backwards in order to keep the disc moving. Here's Michal Dul. Well, will do back into the center for Sosna. This is methodical, workmanlike ultimate by Wrocław, and I don't mean that derogatorily at all. Cut to the front cone, didn't want to squeeze it in that tight window. Instead, they're using the inside to get it off the line to Schaldurner. Schaldurner, back to Sosna, putting the break up for Dul. And Dul just about sticks it in front of Abita, and the first break goes Panthers' way. They've taken a 5-4 lead, Lorcan.
Massive, massive play, and it came from, like you said, workmanship. The resetting in front of the end zone. So frequently we see teams try to force their way in that situation. They start to taste the glory that is laid out in front of them, and then they wind up biting their own tongues. But this time the Panthers just taking their time, not forcing anything. Recycle, dump, swing. Little bit dicey perhaps on the final throw, but Michal Dul equal to it, takes it down. Big time to get the early lead for the Panthers, 5-4. Tchac, and we'll have to wait a little bit longer to see their D-line out here. Look a little step slower than the Poles right now.
Yeah, the Poles have a larger roster. They've got more numbers with them this week, which I know it's the first game, but it certainly helps, as of course does the fact that you get to sleep in your own bed. You haven't had to travel. It does take it out of you a little bit. I just want to raise a point for Dul. He's 39. He's been representing Poland internationally since way back at the European Championships in Maribor in 2011.
And he's been doing him proud that whole time, showing he's still very much got it. Height doesn't age, I guess.
No, and he's also, you know, he helps to put on the events here in Wrocław as well, so, you know, helps to give back in that way.
That's what you love to see, when the veterans of your club help plant the trees that they may never sit in the shade of.
So having just been broken for the first time, how will Tchac respond? There's not really much wind to speak of here at the moment. That one down the line, there's enough pressure on it from Oshetsky to prevent Monus from making the layout snag with the trailing edge. Panthers, this is your chance to put the foot down.
Felt like, again, another slight miscommunication, which is a credit to the incredibly tight defense the Panthers are playing on Tchac.
Paris brings it in from the sideline. Jendras, oh, that one is going to pop up, and a really good grab made under pressure there by the Panthers. Paris down the line, a couple of yards away from a third point in a row. Going all the way across the end zone, and the Panthers had hands up before they'd even caught the point because they knew that the 6-4 lead was theirs.
Really impressive stuff. Jamming it a little bit down the far sideline. Initially, Paris was a big player for them, making his presence felt. So he worked it down the sideline, and it just seems like the Panthers do best when somebody's willing to take it on, take a bit of leadership on the point. And then again, pulling apart the Tchac defensive attempts with these fakes, with this movement, and setting up beautiful sweeping shots. Really nice end zone accuracy, proficiency, professionalism even, and I think Tchac have called a timeout very understandably after going 6-4 down. Paris with the assist. Used to play for Flo Wrocław as well. Flo, who are also representing here at this tournament.
Yeah, in the mixed division. 6-4 at the moment. Panthers leading, and Tchac reeling a little bit, taking a timeout.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch,
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ulti.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
He's in a great spot. He's in a perfect spot. Yes, his massive head has blocked everything. That was a huge play, but we have seen none of it. Finny, he's done it.
(6-4), the hometown Panthers from right here in Wrocław, leading Tchac from France at EUCF 2023. First game of the weekend. Benji Rees, Lorcan Murray at the commentary table, and Panthers have fully deserved the advantage they've created themselves.
That three-point run just came out of hard work and correcting some of the mistakes they were making earlier in the half. They were getting turns throughout the game, realistically. I mean, that was their fourth one. The first two they weren't able to convert, but again, they tidied up their downfield cutting. They're able to set up some of those isolations. You get the first few completions of your possession down. You start to be able to flow a little bit more, and they're growing in confidence with every passing second, and they're growing in audience as well. There's quite a contingency of young Wrocławians here to cheer on their team.
You love to see it,
Oh,
genuinely do. Ultimate, when you've got a little bit of a crowd going, you know, especially if there's a little bit of back and forth amongst the spectators, it's good. Does just add a little bit of extra spice to proceedings. We'll see what Tchac have cooked up coming off the timeout. Axel Roger has crossed over to play some offense, but it's swung over to the far side where Bosser throws the underneath to the reaching grab from the young upstart Elliot Bonnet. He was so impressive on the beach this week, earlier this year. Here's Monus to Benvenien. Bonnet really guns that flick across the end zone. Had the little dish, but saw in his peripheral vision the more attacking shot to the end zone, and he nailed it as well. And that does put Tchac back on the board, but they trail 6-5.
I thought the Panthers were doing a really good job the way they were surrounding the stack as Tchac were trying to make it down the field, but Tchac just kept recycling through their cutters, reducing the number of people that were looking them in the eye when they looked downfield to the end zone, and that was it. Set them into a position where they could set the nice break cut, and like you say, a gunned flick right across. So, a professional response from Tchac. You put out your all-stars, you take care of business, but they're yet to turn, Panthers. And that'll be the real telling point of this half. Can Tchac dislodge possession from the Panthers' O-line?
Yeah, they've got a little bit of a break now, so sometimes it does disrupt your rhythm a little bit, and sometimes you have the rest and you get that extra bit of energy that you might expect, as that backhand blading pull is going to be very awkward to field, and they're choosing to do so. Dobronovsky again going to be tasked with anchoring the O-line.
Look at how far off the Tchac marks are standing. They do not.
All those Dobronovsky deep shots can be, but at the moment they're taking what they're being given, and those are those swings just laterally, slowly pendulum-like working their way down the field.
It is almost like a zone with something of a cup, almost an FSU variation. They are all making sure they have match assignments downfield, and then there's a three-man wall that is kind of expanding and contracting as the disc is swung back and forth between the Panthers handlers. They're doing a fantastic job right now of taking the open option each time and not forcing anything.
Yeah, it's clear there's been a plan by Tchac to try and stifle some of the downfield movement by just sitting a little bit more off on those handler marks. Hasn't necessarily troubled the poles, though.
Gotta give a big shout out to Michal Rudy, working in the backfield with Dobronovsky. Not forcing anything.
Yeah, it's patient so far, and we've shown, or we've seen, I should say, the Panthers are more than happy to do that. But that one, there was scarcely a window for the bid, but Nicolas Perret found it, and he swiped it away.
I didn't like that dumb cutting, to be honest, from Rudy. Or not dumb cutting, just cutting in general. Small steps.
And Axel Roger wants to strike while the iron is hot. He goes deep to Bonnet, who drops it. And that is one that he knows that he should have had.
The Roger-Bonnet connection needs to be working to full effect if Tchac want to win this game. Two really impressive talents. Just not quite able to connect there. So we'll see if Tchac retain that defensive shape.
Certainly, I think for the first half of the field or so, Panthers seemed pretty comfortable, but then when everything got more compressed as they got closer and closer to the end zone, it did gum things up a bit more as they find a matchup they like deep, and Kosmowski climbs the ladder, but he's not quite in the end zone just yet, going up against the shorter Roger, and then the one-on-one in the end zone taken advantage of ruthlessly to Timon Vordacic, and that is a Panthers hold. The first time their airlines turned it over all game, but they got it back on the Bonnet drop and they made it count.
Tchac maybe letting that one go a little bit. Vordacic got the finishing score, but like you say, Dobrowski sees the shot he likes. That shot's going to be Mateusz Kowalski all tournament long. Brilliant chase down, a fantastic force for them. 2 goals and an assist already in this game. Look for everything, he said, coming into this, especially the sky, and we've seen that with aplomb so far in this matchup. Plenty of international experience playing on the beach, mixed and open divisions for Poland, and such a reliable target for the Panthers. You need a couple of breaks to go with you. You need a couple of them to go your way, get a little bit fortunate. I don't think we'll see a drop like that from Bonnet for the rest of the weekend, but right now, Wrocław able to cash it in.
Yeah, they're not going to question the freebie that Bonnet gave them. Bosser catches the pull to Benvenien. Since Panthers as well, just trying to force those swings in the backfield. Force flattens up slightly, which allows the throw to Brazo. Everything feels quite congested at the moment, not really getting separation downfield at the moment. Tchac. There's Dalal. Finds the centering option, Brazo. It's taken them a while, but they've ground their way down the field to about the attacking brick mark, and Abita puts a bit of air under it, and Mathieu Bosser comes through to make it 7-6.
That's the kind of offense we expect from Tchac. It's the kind of offense they opened the game up with. Find the space, find your cutters. Bosser just everywhere on the pitch. Starts off in the handler space, finishes off isolated in the end zone. A versatile player. Great fakes, great vision on the throw. And Tchac at their best, it's those leading passes into the end zone to isolated cutters chasing them down. So 6-5, they've gotten their first hit, so I would like to see them maintain this defensive pressure. I like the look, like you said, once it got into the cramped space, that kind of step off from the handlers and gumming up the downfield was really effective. Maybe a little bit more switching. We know that these Tchac boys know each other very well. They've been playing together for a long time. You got to feel quite comfortable. You need a lot of communication, a lot of understanding between players to be able to pull up.
Discussion about some contact here. It is a quickly accepted foul. So it is going to be a Panthers disc on the end zone line. Checked in and then taking the free reset. Vordacic into the end zone to take us into half, with the Panthers leading 8-6, the current score. Wojciech Pająk with the half-time score.
That was a nice catch. I love that sit-down shot from Vordacic. It just looks so swish when people go for it. Again, nice dump reset, strong position, a drop shot for the score. But again, the faith that the Panthers have in number 10, Mateusz Konalski. is incredible. That throw wasn't the best. A lot of people underneath. I think there's other ways of describing an accumulation of bodies like that. But uncontested foul immediately, and they're able to recover. Tchac will need to come out in the second half with some kind of a response to that deep game. Try and force them under a little bit. Try and make them spread the disc around a bit more. We'll see if they can. But right now, the hometown team 8-6 up and receiving the disc at the start of the second half.
Yeah, so a chance for that free little mini break coming out of the half. 8-6, Panthers from right here in Wrocław, leading Tchac here in our first game of the weekend from the Open Division at EUCF 2023.
Having our VO streams? Do you know that VO cameras are built for more tactical team sport analysis? The inbuilt tracking technology allows you to see the game in finer detail. That's why teams are already using it, and ulti.TV and EUF are teaming up to help you join VO. Contact EUF administration to get more detail.
Welcome back to EUCF 2023. Just seeing the drone cam be retrieved there. And looking pretty good.
Tchac have got to come up with an answer for that deep game. And it did seem like they were starting to work it out towards the end of the half, doing a good job of clamping things in the downfield a little bit more. There was a lot of bodies underneath that last attempted huck that wound up leading to the close of the second half. But even with some of their attempts to limit the downfield movement, we've seen some really great resetting. Dubranovsky and Rudy working quite well together. You see both of them are back out there on the line. So can Panthers hold their nerve and get a big win to open up this game, this tournament?
Yeah, in such a tough pool as well, with the reigning European champions Ranelagh, the other team. You want to make sure that you get off to as good a start as possible, as that one from Dubranovsky asks too much of Kosmowski.
A rare misthrow from Dubranovsky. That was, again, really well set up, and the availability of Kosmowski in the end zone. He was open.
He was open. The shot, I think, was just rushed a little bit.
This is really where the experience of the team starts coming out. Second half, you've gone down, you've had your chat, you've settled in. Now, how do we respond? And that's something I think Tchac are very capable of.
Panthers defensively, they're just trying to pass off players downfield, try and be more efficient in their movement. But the little seam opens up through for Broussard. And now Bonnet. Well, I feel like it must be pretty warm in those tracksuit trousers. Obreto. There's a snowing deep shot, and Bonnet answers the call. And the two for none chance, I should say, for Panthers is wasted as Tchac get their first break of the game on the first point of the second half.
And that's the kind of clutch grab we really expected Bonnet to be making. Got the deepest man frequently dropping back to cover, but then Tchac just kept recycling it, kept using different cutters, which makes it more and more difficult to maintain those switches and keep on top of a defensive structure like that. Eventually, we'll see if Tchac can go on a little bit of a roll now. I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves. I wouldn't really attribute that turnover to defensive pressure. I think Dubranovsky maybe just rushing things ever so slightly. You can't throw 10 hucks in a game and have them all work out. That's
not without a sheet, you can't. The pull from Tchac gets that edge to take it back in bounds. Big swing available towards the far side for Kosmowski, who watches it thunk off his chest, was just looking at the next pass. And Tchac could not have begun the second half better. The simple flip in for the goal from Cotil to Ebreto, and we're tied up at 8.
Yeah, you don't need to make it that easy for him. But if you're going to, And this is exactly it. The slight mistakes, missed throw, drop catch, and Tchac immediately closed that gap. Could have been 9-6 if the Panthers had just done what they've done all game long with an offensive hold. But that experience, that tenacity coming to the fore for the Frenchman. And the pressure starting to mount. Perhaps the occasion even getting to the Panthers a little bit.
We did say they can be streaky, and in the first half, they were red hot, but I don't know, maybe just a little bit of break has just cooled them off a little bit, and they need to try and find a way to get themselves fit and firing again. They do still have the advantage, of course, because they are, you'll hear it called trading up. Essentially, we're tied and they are receiving now, so assuming there were no more breaks, they would close out the game, but obviously the way Tchac has started the second half, that is a tough, tough ask. Dobranovsky with Dunon applying the mark. Finds Montroba, back to Dobranovsky. Dobranovsky sees things looking quite static downfield. Trying to get a bit more rhythm about the offense, and they're trying to do that by taking those lateral passes. Dobranovsky fakes into that middle space that he wanted open. Now the deep shot comes. It's going to sit a little bit, but the receiver maybe has position. Oh, and it comes off his hands once more. This time is Wojciech Pająk.
So the Panthers set up a side stack. They set it up on the open side, which meant lots of space on the break side. You trust your throwers to get there. But the cutters were just not attacking it enough. And in the end, Dobranovsky almost out of frustration. He said, nobody is cutting to this entire space we're creating for ourselves. You guys are working very hard to not get free anywhere, which is a difficult thing to pull off. And in the end, that deep cut comes. It's a floaty pass, sits under it. Tchac right there for the defensive pressure. A little bit of a conversation, but I don't think the conversation was about a foul call. I think it's just the Tchac player was still on the ground a little bit, so I don't know if he was just maybe cramping slightly or just took a slightly hefty landing, but he seems like he's good to go. So Tchac now will have the disc with a chance to get back on serve and give themselves the advantage in this opening contest. Roger, underneath the bonnet. Swung all the way towards this near side for Perret. Rising grab there made by Dunon with that brace on his left knee. Nemo Coty. Back to Axel Roger. Often see his brother Canton, Crash as he's known, playing with Tchac, but just Axel for them this year. Swung across. Panthers really trying to make the French grind it down the field. They're not letting them have the freebie, but the upline shot goes to Roger. There's no easy continuation though, with Roger getting the disc in the power position to truly attack. A long way back that throw, and Bonnet tried his very best with the layout, but it came up just short, and Dobranovsky does not like what he's seen in the start of the second half, and I think he's quite wisely taking the timeout. I wouldn't like what I'd seen either if I was the Panthers captain. Needs to reset it a little bit. Good. Switching again as we have another look. This was the deep shot, came out of frustration. That's a lot of Pająk to bring that in. But then the Panthers doing a great job downfield switching. I think that patrolling the deep, Komelski was just hanging out, taking whatever deep cut was coming, passing them off, and this time it worked out quite effectively for them, so they were able to get the turn back. So really good, intelligent defense by the Panthers O-line to earn it back. And then I like this call, timeout. Try to reset yourselves and don't give up this lead.
No, they worked so hard to get it in the first half that to give it back immediately at the start of the second would be slightly galling. And it's a timeout call that makes a lot of sense if I was them. Even though I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of in-point timeouts, I totally see the methodology behind it. The reason I don't necessarily like it is because you always have to take a couple of seconds just to get things moving again, because of course nobody can move until that disc is checked in. The defense gets the chance to set up around you, so it just takes a couple of beats to get everything in rhythm and going again, and often that's where the turnover comes, that you're kind of trying to force something when generally from a static start it's difficult to get free. It's much more easy once you're on the balls of your feet and once you're moving a bit.
I do think when it comes to in-point timeouts, you can almost predict what the defense is going to do because they have so much time to set up. They're going to 100% sell out on the first 2 moves you make. So if you can make them convincingly enough to create space, you can generally get the dump and start it flowing again.
That's what I quite like to do, is just rather than trying to, if there's an aggressive shot downfield, great, take it, but if not, take a nice early dump and just get things moving again. Get everything in rhythm, because often that is also where turnovers come, is you draw up a couple of options and you don't see one, and then maybe you get a little bit flustered potentially.
Frustration, the enemy of offense.
So a violation called. So we go back in and they clear the shot down the line, and Dobrowski is on the money. He finds Krzysztof van Troba. It makes it 9-8 to Panthers. They stopped that 2-point skid, the couple of breaks that Tchac had earned at the start of the second half. You have a look at it again on the replay. Just felt like maybe that timeout had exactly the effect that the Poles had desired, and it just did give them a chance to take a breath and get that seemingly needed mental reset.
You're also talking about how coming out of situations like that, if there is a shot downfield, take it, and that's exactly what you did to great effect. Perhaps a little bit risky, but you're able to take that breath, knock it back in, and just put a bit of pressure back on to Tchac. Get your O-line back out there. Like you say, the Panthers came here with a big squad, so they can do a full reset, have them run hard, and see what they can generate.
So there's the pool a little bit flatter this time for Romaszewski, who's turned his hat backwards again now that he's playing defense. Paul Benvenien takes on the break and sits out a beautiful one for Abita. Just about past the bidding defender. He takes a little bit of time to get himself to his feet. Brazo can't take advantage of the trailing defender though, as Benvenien looking to squeeze one to Delal down the sideline. And both teams have really found that very narrow channel in the end zone on that far sideline very productive.
And we've seen Tchac set up leading passes, inching their way towards Hux as the game has gone on ever so slightly, but they are just so adept at generating space far downfield and attacking it with just one player. In this instance, it is Delal. We see here was a big Krzysztof with the bid, but didn't get there in time. And then as we look down here, all you see is Delal running. Sosna's trying to catch up with him. And even though that throw itself was squeezed down the sideline, that was a diagonal cut from Delal, so he had a lot of room to read it and correct as necessary. Very well set up and all tied up at 9.
It is an engrossing contest.
Do you like the different structures, the different approaches that the Panthers are bringing to the 4? Not as much experience at this high level, but plenty of experienced players throughout their ranks. Once again, setting up with this side stack, but an immediate flood and sweep.
Wątroba sent us to Dobrowski. Włodarczyk is the next pass, and oh, what a snag that is. Quick twitch reactions there. Dobrowski knew that he needed the layout and he executed it well. Now they clear out space for Kosmalski. Bit of double cutting in the lane. Włodarczyk. Back to Kosmalski, just sits down a little as he throws that to Zatonia. Down to Dobrowski, to Włodarczyk. A little bit of a leading pass. I'm not quite sure that Dobrowski was perhaps expecting it. Tchac with another break opportunity.
I threw it between Kosmalski and Dobrowski. Not sure which one he was aiming for.
And unfortunately, I'm not sure neither were they. Bonnet takes the open player. And now they've got it on the far sideline. Expansive fake from Petito. Squeezing down the sideline and squeezing it right on target to Elliot Bonnet. And Tchac are back on top. They've taken a 10-9 lead. Their first lead of the game since they led 4-3.
And once again, it's that same setup. for the attack. Bonnet is so lethal anywhere on the pitch. Bit of blown coverage downfield as Panthers are still trying to do that switching to limit the big huck options, but then it's just a comfortable leading pass again. About a third, if not a half, of the pitch. And a clap catch. So relentless attacking by Tchac towards the end zone, and able to get these in pretty quick, which is something that will stand to them, as, like you said, they don't have the biggest roster here with them. But right now they're really showing what makes them an elite European side and able to reclaim that lead. This is quite an impressive run in the second half. They're 8-6 down, so it's a 4-1 run. I think they'd only turned the Panthers once coming into the second half.
As we mentioned, we might have mentioned, there's a full weekend of streaming here from EUCF, and what that means is that, as well as the pitch here, we've got the other pitch over in the Olympic Stadium. Very nice, on the artificial turf. That currently is Jaka against Troubles from Warsaw. So a bit of Polish accent in both of the first games of the round for you. Of course, there is a full slate of games being played elsewhere at the field, which we can kind of see unfolding in front of us. But the action we're focusing on is right here. There we go, down the line. Can he track it in bounds? He's able to just watch it all the way in there for Tchac, and we're tied at 10s.
I thought Tchac were doing a really good job of forcing the Panthers under as much as they possibly could, but then Wrocław was brilliant, able to just throw a little bit of a step, get behind the back of Petitau, and then tear off diagonally to that far corner. And the Frenchman can only watch on in despair. So brilliant response by the Panthers to tie it back up. They know they can get the turns. They know they can punch them in. I feel like there hasn't even been a huge strategic shift that's happened in the second half that's really led Tchac to go on this run. I think it's been more of a mental one. And we'll see what the Panthers really have going on between their ears as they try to fight their way back into this game.
There is one game that has already wrapped up here over in Pool E in the Open Division, with BFD La Fota closing out Bristol Open by a scoreline of 15-5, so laying down an early marker there.
The Rats getting a little bit drowned on that one.
Benvenien. Back to Bosser. Very handy player to have rejoining the fold, Bosser. Delal. Tight on the sideline is Shaldona. Just floats the reset. Back to Delal. Oh, a little bit of shake and bake. Creates a separation for Guillaume. And Guillaume down the line for Delal. And 11-10 to Tchac.
Crisp. Really, really crisp. You talk about Bosser being a fantastic returning player for Tchac. And then we see the return of those flapping seagull arms. I've watched those sail their way all across Europe in the past. And the French feeling themselves again. That, I didn't see the half layout Delal did to secure that catch on the other side. So maybe not as crisp as I initially thought, but smooth backhands and great use of the space. Again, Tchac just showing how adept they are at isolating cutters and letting them make the plays.
How good's your French geography, Lorcan?
I know a little bit.
Do you know where Pornichet is?
It's on the west coast of France.
Yeah, kind of northwestish around. So that it's not too far from Nantes. It's probably the closest big city, and it's kind of where Tchac were kind of based originally, but now they draw from Pornichet, Corset, Orvaux, kind of a few little towns around that area. And the Lighthouse has been a beacon of strength in European Ultimate for a number of years now.
Panthers are doing a good job of splitting the deep, but not really taking a big advantage of it.
Yeah, they were able to find the shot overhead that gave them a little bit of space downfield. Oh, Włodaszczyk is wide open. That's what you talked about, splitting that deep player. And it means that there is a player wide open in the end zone, Mateusz Nishala. I like Tchac throwing a bit of a zone out, you know, give something different for Panthers to try and solve. But didn't they solve that quickly?
Oh, they mauled that, Benji. And again, I agree with you. You've got to have a couple of things in your back pocket ready to pull out at the end of the game as we enter the final third. The Panthers just knew what to do, took their time, didn't force anything. It might look like they're throwing people in acres of space, but that's because of the work that they're doing, pulling apart the backfield structure of the zone.
Yeah, it feels like these are not optimal zone conditions because it's warm, it's not particularly muggy either or sticky, and there's maybe a tiny breath of wind, but it's almost entirely calm here, so...
Oh, it's a whisper, if it's anything.
Just a suggestion of a breeze.
It's one that the Panthers ignored comfortably. So 11-11 tied up. It's going to get a lot tighter. I expect Panthers are going to start restricting their lines pretty soon. But for now, keeping it fairly standard.
The ball is fielded deep in the end zone by Bosser. And Panthers have got into their defensive toolbox as well. They're just trying to sit off into those throwing lanes. And Tchac just trying to take the quick little give goes to bounce back and through. And there's the shot down the line to Delal. And Benvenien put it bang on the spot for 12-11. Beautiful throw from Paul Benvenien.
That's what they've been doing all game long. Find a thrower you trust, put them into a power position, isolate a cutter downfield, and just have them attack in a diagonal cut. I cannot stress this enough to the people watching at home. The diagonal cut is a vital part of how they're setting up these leading passes. We see Bosser, Manvanal, and then Delal. Delal comes from the middle of the pitch to attack the sideline in the end zone. Gives a nice wide range for Manvanal to float the disc into, and then he can just adjust as necessary and chase it down for the score. So Tchac almost getting more comfortable. I think probably working out how the Panthers were trying to limit their movement.
Yeah, also it's not necessarily a full strength Tchac side. You're bringing some extra pieces in players like Bonnet. Bosser is obviously more than familiar to the group, but hasn't necessarily been around that frequently in the past couple of years. So there is going to be maybe some teething problems, some miscommunications to start with, but it does feel like they've really settled down a bit since then. So Bonnet with the pull for Tchac. A floater that I think is not quite going to land inbounds, and Filip Dobronovsky indicates that he wants to bring this from the brick mark.
Just a quick shout out to Herbreto, just chasing down every pull, leading that charge.
Yep, commitment, that's what you like to see. As Kosmowski indicates that he wants to look crossfield, but instead just a really tight dump into the gut there of Dobronovsky. Dobronovsky takes advantage of the face mark from Bonnet to sit the lead throw out towards the break side. Working nicely, now parallel with the attacking brick mark. Letting Dobronovsky run the show. Kosmowski with a bit of sliding snag swag. And squeezes that one past the upline defenders and ties us at 12s.
There was around 10 completed passes for that possession for Panthers. I think Dobronovsky and Kosmowski were 6, 7 of them. You can see it's getting tight. Things are getting challenging, and the Panthers are going back to their two real talismanic players to lead the way. And there were some tough grabs. There was a little pop on this very close sideline. That sliding grab Kosmowski just was about to bring in, so it's a little thin on the ground out there for the Panthers right now as they tie it up at 12-12. They still need a break to take the lead back, and we're entering the final game to 3.
We are indeed. It all comes down to this. You practice these scenarios in training. You look at kind of the mini games within the games. so that when you get into a situation like this where you've played each other so close for the first, well, more than the first, a very large portion of the game, you get into the scenario where it's that mini game, first to 3 wins. What have you got for us, gang? Osetsky pulls. Swinging across. Razor. Now big yard gainer underneath. Finds the lane into the centre for Monus. Monus just puts a little bit of touch and loft on that one and delivers a dime to Ben Venyen.
I was so ready to just sing the praises of Bosser and those backhands that he does oh so well. The high release breaks, the smooth inside throws as well. But Manus, catch, turn, all in the same move, the leading pass to the end zone. Let's just have another look and really enjoy how quality this throw is. He gets it here, an immaculate leading pass. And that time, yeah, it was just a straight cut. I've been talking a lot about how I love these diagonal cuts from Tchac, but you clear out, you go deep, the opportunity arises. 13-12, they're flowing now.
I feel like generally you want to go at an angle when you come under because it gives the thrower more of a window to hit as opposed to running directly at them when it feels like they have to really spear it into the gut. But when you're going deep, you want that cut to come straighter down the middle because that actually opens the angle as they're coming away from you. If that cut's angled too close to the sideline, you don't really give yourself much of a window for misexecution, whereas if you go straight down the field, A, you get a wider margin for error because you've kind of got the whole end zone to aim at, and B, it just feels like you're making the throw a little bit easier as well.
I strongly disagree with that point, but we'll have to talk about it later.
Interesting. Dobronovsky, oh, the defender was all over that one. Must have been a high stall because otherwise I'm not sure why Dobronovsky released it. Roger takes the short option, but the throw is a little bit too quick and Gualtil can't get his hand underneath. Kosmowski wants to get in motion quickly. Dobronovsky gets the reset. And now Nijela. Again, not seeing much separation downfield. Lofts the hammer over the top. Mateusz Kosmowski with a ripper of a grab. And Kosmowski just about squeezes it into Zatonia. There might be a discussion about whether or not he was in bounds when the catch was made, though.
I gotta tell you, we'll need to see a replay. First off, just because I want to see a replay of that layout grab. But also, I have to agree with Tchac here. Okay, first off, let's just watch. Oh!
It is filthy.
But then, this is a very low release throw, and I do think if your foot hits that cone, I don't think he secures that before he slides out of bounds.
I'd have to look at it again. With the sun's coming right over our shoulders here, so I don't have the best view of the replay screen.
Try and use my body to block the shade. Oh, good. I like how the replay will also show us one more time. Kablamo!
How sick that was.
Batman sound effects salute, sir.
We're going to see if we can get a second look at that. They seem to be happy to contest it and send it back. And a couple of passes later, Panthers do punch it in to make it 13s.
Watroba was the one picking up the final catch. He's had himself quite an impressive game as well, getting involved every now and again. And I like how quickly that was resolved by the Panthers. There wasn't a lengthy discussion. There wasn't, although we have changed the rules, there wasn't any movement to send people over here. It was just, look, we contest. It's going to go back to Kosmowski, who I think we all agree deserves to have the disc. And then nice little reset. But again, it shows the lengths that the Panthers are having to go through. That smooth play that they had in the first half, their ability to use the side stack, get a couple of breaks off, and then set up much more comfortable throws from Dobronovsky to Kosmowski. It's kind of gone away as this game has gone on. 13-13. Tchac still receiving the disc. Everything to play for. But right now, I'd say even the French seem to have the edge.
So Bossa catching the pull for Tchac. And Benvenien to Delal just past the splayed defender. Brazo. Continuing to inch their way down the field. Now they're taking the expansive option, and the recognition is good, and it provides the opportunity for the defender to sneak in from the backside there. Maggiera, I think it is, who read it well.
Colourful hat, colourful play, little bit of an overthrow. Maggiera was able to peel off, get the tip away, and now with a split stack, the Panthers a chance to get a crucial break. It's a game to 2, and that one just bounces out of bounds.
Glorious opportunity for the Panthers goes begging. Bosser. Oh! Another block. Looking for the quick pickup again, Panthers. Paris has to lay out to make sure he secures it, but they're running the give-go just shy of the end zone. Will they force it in, or will they be a little bit more circumspect in possession? Reset back. How are your nerves doing now, Panthers? Only a couple of yards out. Central. Looking to punch their way over the precipice. But they're not going to do it unless the perfect opportunity unveils itself, as they're forced still out. Looking for the break around. Both players laid out. Paris was the target. Didn't see if there was any contact. Feel like it's not the most guaranteed option. Zions was the thrower.
He's got 2 blocks so far in this point. He's looking to find or Paris. Even Paris had to get fully horizontal.
So then there are a couple of discussions. A, was there a foul? B, if there was a foul, would it have been in bounds? There's an argument potentially that if it wasn't, there could be a force out. It's
a lot of difficult things. I think when you're putting that disc out into that kind of space, just sending it back is probably the most fair resolution.
Yeah, a contest, sides can't agree. I don't think it should necessarily be viewed as an inherently negative result. Sometimes it is just genuinely so tough to figure out that it seems like the sensible thing to do, but there is no doubt about that one, as it is punched in for the break, and Panthers back on top at 14-13. Dariusz Jędrasz with the score.
And Paris was absolutely incredible, helping keep that offense going. We saw Sasna to take on a lot of that responsibility in the first half. Paris has grown into this game, leading at that time. Some really nice give-go, obviously involved in that contested call. And then getting the assist here. Really great play by the Panthers, and what a time to get that critical break. Both teams have had the chance. Tchac, don't forget, had the chance in the previous point to go up 14-12. This is a very tightly contested match.
And it was exactly what we wanted first game of the week. Could not really ask for a more intense opener.
Getting us excited, getting us ready for what's going to be a great weekend of Ultimate. The hometown team showing everybody how it's done. Tchac right there with them.
Yeah, a reminder that all of the games on ulti.TV this week are live and free to watch on our YouTube channel, so 2 games per round all the way up until the finals, of course, when there can't be 2 games around because it's the finals. So we get the full setup for you for that one. We are very much looking forward to that, but there's so much good Ultimate to be played before then. And if that is something that you want to support, then make your way over to our Patreon, patreon.com/ulti.tv, and help grow the spread of the game through helping to fund free live Ultimate. The very partisan home crowd certainly making their presence felt here, Lorcan. I love it.
You got to get everybody you can down to the sidelines, raise their voices. This is a huge moment.
Roger into the sliding Abita. High release back to the bearded Bosser. Now the lefty Dalal finds Bosser once more. Good communication because a couple of players were in the same space, but they made sure that there was no collision. And oh, the narrowest of windows. Just about forced it past the tip from Yendras.
I have no idea how Dalal held on to that.
Sticky fingers, it seems.
They're in the red zone, trying to bring this game to Universe.
So a couple of yards away from Universe point. But there is a stoppage.
Gotta watch out from this inside. Bonvenel. Expect him to just go up the line. The scoop is available for Roger.
Expect the defender might sell out on this, but instead the cut comes from the back towards the sideline from Elliot Bonnet. First game of the weekend, and we're going to sudden death. 14-14, game to 15, Universe point. EUCF has delivered already.
Here we go, everybody at home. Isn't this why you're currently hiding a screen from your workmates?
I mean, I would say yes, but thankfully we don't have to because we are right here in the thick of the action, only a couple of yards away from the sideline here on field 1. And I think we have, as we see a replay of that score to take us to Universe, a timeout on the field.
I do think Tchac kind of got away with that a little bit. As you look there, Bonvenel did make that cut up the line, but there was a miscommunication. Bonnet cut from the back of the stack. They both cut into the exact same space. Normally, that leads to a turnover, but Bonnet is just so quick.
Yes, yes he is.
Here's the thing.
Go on.
Panthers have been quite rigid in their lines so far. Even there, with the game on the line potentially for the D-line, saying like, no, we trust our D-line, we're going to send them out there. So, but they have cycled a few different people through the O-line. So I can obviously immediately imagine 2, if not 3 of the players will definitely be out there. But I'm curious as to who else Panthers put out in this crunch time situation. And do they just go for that classic 91-10 huck?
We shall see. Just trying to get a spy at who is on the line there, and I can indeed see Dobrynovsky and Kozmowski out there.
Oh yeah.
Not that that is any surprise. Looks like a pretty standard O-line.
Yeah, Michal Rudy probably going to catch that and set up the Dobrynovsky to get it all started.
And Dobrowski catches the centering pass. A little bit low, but the slide is no problem there for Włodarczyk. Dobrowski, he does lash it deep as you said he might. This time his target is Pionk, and Pionk makes it work. And Panthers take a huge win in the opener at EUCF.
That's how you win a universe point game. Incredible stuff. Kozłowski was kind of hanging out a bit deep. He was the last one back in the side sack. I thought that's nowhere to set up a deep shot from. Bane was on him. He was a red herring. He was there as a distraction. Makes the cut in, points to Pionk, says go deep now. Pionk takes off. Dobrowski obliges, sets it up. It's floaty. It was a battle. Everything on the line. And talk about trusting a pole. Gets huge, rips it down. And a massive 15-14 win for the Panthers.
That's a huge win over a team that has been a stalwart at the thick end of European tournaments for the best part of a decade now. And given how tight we expect this pool to be with, as we mentioned, the reigning European champions in this division, Ranelagh, the third team in this pool, getting that early dub on the board has got to feel good for the hometown heroes here in Wrocław, the Panthers.
It's a massive win, and it's the first game. We've got 6 more slots, 12 more games to bring you today. So much action, and then it's Saturday and Sunday. It can only get better on ulti.TV. I am delighted to be here with you, Benji, and enjoying such quality Ultimate in such lovely sunshine.
Absolute pleasure as always, Lorcan. Our next game here on this field starts in a little over 10 minutes time. We go to the mixed division with Zoom from Turkey making their debut at EUCF, taking on Früb from Germany. So I shall see you in a little over 10 minutes time for that. I feel like you've got to bike off to the stadium. So we will see you there on whatever stream. Final score here in the opener at EUCF is Tchac 14, Panthers 15, and an instant classic. Nope. I'm going over to the other field after this. Leave it over there. Yeah, there are a couple of times.
If we stay here, we'll probably drown. I know this will never work out. I saw it all before, but I will really miss you on the dance floor. And tonight we're like fire and ice. Try to fix it. I try to picture someone else but you. But then you kiss me, and now there's nothing else I wanna do. And tonight we're like fire and ice. I'm burning all over, and we're starting a riot tonight. Don't want this to be over. Any second we all burn down. If we stay here, we'll probably drown. I know this will never work out. I saw it all before, but I will really miss you on the
Thank you. Thanks.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, Ultimate.
ulti.TV.